Long before the jingle of coins filled Norwegian pockets, there was another metal that ruled the land. This was the age of the Vikings, a time of longships, sagas, and silver. For them, money wasn't about the number stamped on a piece of metal, it was about the raw, glittering weight of it. They didn't count coins, they weighed silver. This was a system built on trust, and the simple, honest truth of a scale. A Viking trader might carry hack silver, chopped up pieces of jewelry, arm rings, and foreign coins, all valued purely for their silver content. It was a rugged, practical approach to wealth, perfectly suited to a people who traveled the known world and traded with countless cultures. They saw value in the substance itself, not in the decree of a distant king. This system of bullion economy, as we call it, was deeply personal. An arm ring wasn't just a store of wealth, it was a symbol of status, a reward for loyalty, or a memento from a raid. When it came time to make a purchase, a piece would be hacked off, weighed and exchanged for goods. It was direct, it was tangible. The idea of a small, standardized coin with a fixed value was alien to this way of life. The Vikings encountered coins on their travels, of course, Arabic dirhams, Anglo-Saxon pennies, but they often treated them as just more silver to be melted down or chopped up. The authority of the ruler who minted them meant little in the fjords of Norway. What mattered was the pure, gleaming metal in their hands. The first true coins to appear in Norway were not made of copper, but of silver. Around the year 995, King Olaf Tryggvason, a man who had seen much of the world, decided it was time for Norway to have its own currency. He minted silver pennies, modeled on the English coins he had seen. But this was a slow revolution. For centuries, the old ways persisted. People in remote valleys and fishing villages still preferred the heft of hack silver. Coins were for kings, for taxes, and for paying soldiers. They were a tool of a centralized state, something that took a long time to take root in the fiercely independent spirit of the Norwegian people. The economy remained overwhelmingly based on silver, a metal of prestige and power. So, for hundreds of years, from the Viking Age through the Middle Ages, copper was simply not a monetary metal in Norway. It was useful, of course, for tools, for decorations, and for household goods, but it wasn't a store of value. Wealth was silver, and to a lesser extent, gold. The idea of making a coin from a base metal like copper would have seemed absurd. It lacked the intrinsic, almost magical allure of silver. It was common, it was practical, but it wasn't the stuff of treasure hoards or kingly tributes. The monetary story of Norway, for its first several centuries, was written entirely in silver, a testament to a time when value was something you could feel in the palm of your hand. The 1600s were a time of great transformation across Europe, and Norway was no exception. The old world, built on the certainties of silver, was beginning to creak and groan. For centuries, silver mines had been the engine of European economies, but now, many were becoming exhausted. The flow of precious metal was slowing to a trickle. In Norway, which was then part of a union with Denmark, this created a serious problem. There simply wasn't enough silver to go around to mint the sheer number of coins needed for a growing economy. The grand silver daler coins were fine for large transactions, but what about buying a loaf of bread, a length of rope, or a tankard of ale? A currency crisis was brewing. This shortage of small change was a major headache for everyday people. Imagine trying to pay for a small item with a large, valuable silver coin. You'd need to find someone who could make change, and that was often impossible. Trade in local markets became clumsy and inefficient. People resorted to barter or IOUs, which slowed down commerce. The Danish-Norwegian crown, under the rule of King Christian V, saw this problem clearly. A modern state needed a flexible and plentiful currency, one that could serve the needs of both wealthy merchants and simple farmers. The magnificent silver coins were a symbol of the kingdom's power, but the lack of small change was a sign of its practical weakness. Just as the need for a new type of coin was becoming critical, a great discovery was made. Deep in the Norwegian mountains, vast deposits of copper were found. Suddenly, Norway had access to a huge supply of a new metal. The founding of the Røros Copper Works in 1644, and later the expansion of mining operations in places like Kongsberg, changed everything. Here was a metal, sourced from Norwegian soil, that was perfect for minting low-value coins. It was abundant, it was cheap, and it was entirely under the control of the crown. This was a gift from the earth, a solution to a problem that had been plaguing the kingdom for decades. The stage was now set for a monetary revolution. The final piece of the puzzle was the influence of Denmark and the rest of Europe. By the 17th century, many other countries had already started using copper coins for small transactions. Sweden, Norway's neighbor and rival, had been minting enormous copper plate money for years. The Danish kings, who ruled Norway from Copenhagen, were well aware of these trends. They saw how copper coinage could stimulate trade, make tax collection easier, and solidify the state's control over the economy. The decision was made. It was time for Norway to embrace this new, modern form of money. The age of silver was not over, but it would now have to share the stage with its humble, hard-working cousin copper. The year is 1683. In the bustling workshops of the Kongsberg Mint, nestled in the mountains southwest of Christiania, what we now call Oslo, something new is happening. The air is thick with the heat of the forge and the rhythmic clang of hammers. This is the birthplace of Norway's very first copper coin. Under the authority of King Christian V of Denmark and Norway, the mint was tasked with a historic mission to produce a small, practical coin for the people. This wasn't a coin of silver for the wealthy, but a coin of copper for the everyday. It was a one-skilling dansk, a denomination small enough to finally make daily trade simple and fair for everyone. The decision to mint this coin was a landmark moment. For the first time in its history, Norway was creating money from a metal that wasn't precious. Its value came not from its weight in silver or gold, but from the decree of the king. This is what we call fiat money. Money that is valuable because the government says it is. It was a huge conceptual leap. It required people to trust the authority of the crown, to believe that this small, reddish-brown disc of metal was worth exactly one skilling. The minting of this coin was more than just an economic policy. It was a powerful statement about the centralization of power under the Danish-Norwegian Union. The choice of the Kongsberg Mint was deeply significant. Kongsberg was already famous for its silver mine, discovered in 1623, which had been a major source of wealth for the kingdom. By tasking this same facility with minting the new copper coins, the crown was linking the new currency to an established center of monetary production. It gave the humble copper coin a sense of legitimacy and importance. The skilled workers at Kongsberg, who were used to handling precious silver, now turned their expertise to a new material. They had to perfect the process of melting, rolling, and stamping copper to create millions of identical coins, a feat of industrial production for its time. The arrival of the one-skilling coin marked the beginning of the end for the old bullion economy in everyday life. No longer would people have to haggle over bits of hack silver or rely on clumsy barter. They now had a standardized, government-guaranteed tool for small transactions. It was a small coin, but its impact was enormous. It helped to knit the Norwegian economy together, making it easier for people in different parts of the country to trade with one another. It was a quiet revolution, one that took place not on a battlefield, but in the markets, shops, and taverns of 17th century Norway. The 1683 skilling dansk was the little coin that changed everything. To hold one of these first copper coins is to hold a piece of history. They were not large or grand, but their design was packed with meaning. On one side, the obverse was the monogram of the king. It featured a C5 for Christian V, elegantly intertwined and topped with a royal crown. This was not just a decoration, it was a stamp of royal authority. It was the king's personal guarantee of the coin's value. In an age when many people were illiterate, this symbol was instantly recognizable. It said, "This coin is legitimate. It is backed by the power of the kingdom." The monogram was a constant, visible reminder of the king's presence in the daily lives of his Norwegian subjects. On the other side, the reverse, the coin's purpose was made clear. It was stamped with its value, one skilling dansk, and the year of its mintage, 1683. The word dansk is crucial. It reminds us that Norway was part of the Danish kingdom, and its currency was integrated into the Danish system. The value and the date were vital for public confidence. People needed to know exactly what the coin was worth, and to trust that it was a recent official issue. Often, the reverse also featured the mint mark, a small symbol, in this case, crossed hammers, indicating that it was made at the Kongsberg Mint. This mark was a guarantee of quality, a sign that the coin was produced by the king's own craftsmen. The coin itself was made of pure copper. The process was a marvel of 17th century technology. Copper was heated in a furnace, cast into ingots, and then hammered or rolled into flat strips of the correct thickness. From these strips, blank discs or planchets were punched out. Each blank was then placed between two dies, hardened steel stamps engraved with the obverse and reverse designs. A powerful strike, either from a heavy hammer or a screw press, would then imprint the design onto the soft copper. The result was a coin, ready for circulation. The quality could vary, with some coins being struck off-center or with weak details, but the basic design was always clear. The significance of these features cannot be overstated. In a world without mass media, coins were a powerful form of propaganda. They were a way for the ruler to project his image and authority into every corner of the kingdom. Every time a person used a one-skilling coin, they were interacting with a symbol of the state. The king's monogram, the clear statement of value, and the mint mark all worked together to build trust in a new kind of money. This wasn't just a piece of metal, it was a carefully crafted message, a small, durable piece of political communication that would pass through thousands of hands, quietly reinforcing the new economic order. The introduction of the one-skilling copper coin in 1683, along with other copper denominations that followed, slowly but surely transformed daily life in Norway. For the first time, ordinary people had access to a reliable and convenient form of small change. A fisherman could sell his catch at the market and, actually receive exact payment. A farmer could sell a few eggs and use the copper skillings to buy a new needle or some thread. This lubrication of small-scale commerce was honestly revolutionary. It stimulated local economies and made life easier for a population that had long struggled with the impracticalities of a silver-based system. The jingle of copper in a pocket became a new and welcome sound across the country. However, the transition was not without its problems. One of the biggest challenges was public trust. People were used to money having intrinsic value. Silver was valuable in its own right. Copper, on the other hand, was a base metal. Its value as a coin was far greater than its value as scrap metal. This led to a constant fear of inflation. If the government minted too many copper coins, their value could plummet, wiping out people's savings. The state had to perform a delicate balancing act, issue enough coins to facilitate trade, but not so many that it undermined public confidence. This tension between utility and trust would be a recurring theme in the story of copper coinage. Another issue was counterfeiting. Because copper coins were not made of a precious metal, the temptation to make fake ones was, immense. A skilled metalworker could potentially cast their own coins from cheap copper and pass them off as official currency, making a tidy profit. The government fought back with strict laws and punishments for counterfeiters, but it was a constant battle. The detailed designs on the official coins, like the king's monogram and the mint master's mark, were partly intended to make them harder to copy. Every time a person accepted a copper coin, they had to make a quick judgment. Was this a real coin, issued by the king, or a worthless fake? Despite these challenges, by the early 1700s, copper coins had become an indispensable part of the Norwegian economy. They circulated widely, from the busy ports of Bergen to the remote farms of the inland valleys. The government continued to issue new copper coins, including the half-skilling, one-skilling, and two-skilling denominations, to meet the growing demand. They were the workhorses of the monetary system, facilitating the millions of small transactions that formed the backbone of the national economy. The grand silver dalers might have represented wealth, but honestly, it was the humble copper skillings that kept the wheels of daily commerce turning, changing Norwegian society one small purchase at a time. The year 1814 was a seismic one for Norway. After centuries of union with Denmark, the Napoleonic Wars redrew the map of Europe. Denmark, having backed the losing side, was forced to cede Norway to Sweden. This marked the end of one union and the beginning of another. For Norway, it was a moment of profound change and a chance to assert a new sense of national identity. This new political reality was quickly reflected in the nation's money. The coins of the Danish kings, with their Danish inscriptions and monograms, were no longer appropriate. A new coinage was needed, one that would represent a Norway that was now a distinct kingdom, albeit in union with Sweden. One of the first acts of the newly assertive Norway was the establishment of its own central bank, Norges Bank, in 1816. That same year, a new currency law was passed, creating a new monetary system. The main unit of currency was now the speke dollar, which was divided into 120 skillings. This was a deliberate break from the old Danish system. The new coins that were issued under this system were proudly Norwegian. While the king's portrait or monogram was still present, now that of the Swedish-Norwegian monarch, the inscriptions were in Latin or Norwegian, and the coins often featured the Norwegian coat of arms, a crowned lion clutching an axe. Copper coins continued to play a vital role in this new system. They were still the essential currency for everyday transactions. The new government, based in Christiania, authorized the Kongsberg Mint to produce 1, 2, and 3 skilling coins made of copper. These coins looked distinctly different from their Danish-era predecessors. The designs were simpler, more modern, and they proudly displayed the crowned Norwegian lion. For the first time, the coins in people's pockets looked and felt truly Norwegian. They were a small but powerful symbol of the country's newfound autonomy, and a daily reminder of its unique status within the new union. This period, from 1814 until the 1870s, was one of nation building, and coinage was a key part of that project. The designs evolved, reflecting the changing relationship with the Swedish crown and a growing sense of Norwegian nationalism. The copper skilling coins of this era tell a story of a nation finding its feet. They circulated during a time of political development, industrial growth, and cultural flowering. They were the currency of a country that was rediscovering its own identity. While the political union was with Sweden, the coins in circulation were a clear statement that Norway was a kingdom in its own right, with its own laws, its own bank, and its own money. The mid-19th century was a time of scientific progress and industrial standardization. This spirit of modernity eventually reached the world of coinage. For over 150 years, Norway's low-value coins had been made of pure copper, but metallurgists had discovered that adding a small amount of tin and zinc to copper created a superior alloy, bronze. Bronze was harder and more resistant to wear and tear than pure copper. This meant that coins made from bronze would last longer in circulation, retaining their details and legibility for many more years. It was a practical scientific improvement, and mints across Europe began making the switch. The final act for the old skilling system and for pure copper coinage came in 1875. In that year, Norway, along with Denmark and Sweden, made a momentous decision. They joined the Scandinavian Monetary Union. This was a major step towards modernizing and simplifying their economies. The union required all 3 countries to adopt a new currency system based on a gold standard. The old convoluted systems of specie dollars and skillings were swept away. A new decimal-based currency was introduced, the krone, which was divided into 100 øre. This was the birth of the currency system that Norway still uses today. With the introduction of the krone and øre, the era of pure copper coinage in Norway came to a definitive end. The new, low-value coins, the 1, 2, and 5 øre, were minted not in copper, but in bronze. These new coins were smaller, lighter, and more durable than the old copper skillings. They represented a new, modern, and internationally connected Norway. The switch to bronze was a practical one, but it also symbolized a break with the past. The heavy, dark copper coins of the Danish and early Swedish unions were relics of a bygone era. The new, brighter bronze coins were the currency of a forward-looking, industrializing nation. The old copper skillings were gradually withdrawn from circulation, replaced by the new bronze øre. They had served the nation for nearly 2 centuries, facilitating countless transactions and witnessing a profound transformation in Norwegian society. From their introduction in 1683, they had helped to modernize a pre-industrial economy. They had survived war, inflation, and a change of unions. But their time was over. The future belonged to a new metal and a new currency system. The retirement of the last copper coins marked the end of a long and important chapter in Norway's monetary history, paving the way for the robust and modern currency we know today. Today, you won't find any pure copper coins in your change in Norway. The modern coins we use are made from alloys like copper-nickel or copper-plated steel, chosen for their cost-effectiveness and durability. The era of pure copper money, which began with such importance in 1683, is now firmly in the past. The øre denominations, the direct descendants of the first copper skillings, were themselves phased out of circulation, with the 50 øre coin being the last to be withdrawn in 2012. The economy has moved on, and digital payments are now more common than the jingle of any kind of coin. The physical money in our pockets has become less and less important, yet the legacy of Norway's first copper coins is far from forgotten. For historians and economists, they are invaluable artifacts. They are a physical symbol of a crucial economic transition, the shift from a bullion-based economy to a modern, state-guaranteed fiat currency. They tell the story of the centralization of power under the Danish crown and the beginnings of a truly national economy. Academics study their mintage numbers, their circulation patterns, and their chemical composition to understand the economic conditions of the past. These small copper discs are primary sources, offering clues about trade, technology, and trust in 17th and 18th century Norway. For coin collectors, or numismatists, these early copper coins are highly prized. Finding a well-preserved 1683 one-skilling Dansk is a thrilling achievement. Each coin is unique, with its own patina, its own small imperfections, and its own hidden story. Collectors appreciate them not for their monetary value, but for their history, their rarity, and their connection to a pivotal moment in the nation's past. They are displayed in collections and museums, such as the Coin and Medal Collection at the Museum of Cultural History in Oslo. There, they are preserved for future generations, silent witnesses to the economic journey of a nation. The story of the first copper coin is, in essence, a story about trust. It represents the moment when the people of Norway began to trust in an idea, the idea that a piece of common metal could have value simply because their government declared it so. This was a fundamental building block of the modern state. Today, as we use credit cards and digital transfers, we are extending that same principle of trust, albeit in a far more abstract form. The humble copper skilling of 1683 is the ancestor of our modern digital economy. It stands as a powerful symbol of how a small, practical innovation can lay the groundwork for centuries of economic development and change. Our journey through time has brought us back to a single pivotal moment. We've seen how Norway, a land of Vikings who valued the raw weight of silver, slowly moved towards a more structured monetary system. We have explored the pressures of the 17th century, the scarcity of silver, the demands of daily trade, the discovery of a new natural resource, and the political will of a powerful king. All these forces converged, creating the perfect conditions for a revolution. That revolution was small, round, and made of copper. It was a coin that would fundamentally reshape the economic landscape of the nation for the next 200 years. The key facts of its birth are a story in themselves. The coin was a one-skilling Dansk. The year was 1683. The authority behind it was King Christian V of Denmark and Norway, and its birthplace was the Royal Mint in Kongsberg, a town already synonymous with Norway's mineral wealth. These details are more than just trivia. They are the cornerstones of a major event in Norwegian history. This coin was the first time a base metal was used to create official currency in Norway, a move that required a profound shift in public perception, moving from intrinsic value to a value based on state authority and trust. The design of the coin was a masterpiece of political communication. The king's crown monogram, C5, was a clear symbol of power and legitimacy. The explicit statement of its value, one-skilling Dansk, and the date of its creation, 1683, provided the clarity and confidence needed for it to be accepted in the marketplace. It was a tool designed not just for trade, but for nation building. It helped to standardize the economy, stimulate commerce, and reinforce the presence of the state in the everyday lives of the Norwegian people. It was a small object that did a very big job, paving the way for the complex monetary systems we rely on today. In the end, the story of Norway's first copper coin is a story of modernization. It represents the beginning of a new economic chapter, one that would see Norway through changes of unions, a growing sense of national identity, and eventually, into the industrial age. Though long since replaced by bronze, alloys, and now digital data, the legacy of that first one-skilling coin endures. It is remembered in museums, sought after by collectors, and studied by historians. It stands as a testament to a time when a small piece of Norwegian copper helped to build a modern Norwegian economy, one transaction at a time.